How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of Eastasiasoft, welcome to today's stream. Today is Sunday, which means that it's time for me to continue my playthrough of True Colors: A Date with Deception. We ended off the last stream on a really depressing note. We are now halfway through the final route of this game, Brianna's route, and, yeah. Feels bad, man. Nothing left for us to do right now except to keep going. I got 2 dodges. I dodged 2 bad endings. I'm still feeling pretty good about that. See, it looks like this is right here. This is the one I was on. Perfect. Excuse me. Brianna Route Part 2. Is this game going to make me cry? I'm going to assume that that's a keyboard. Everything feels so strange. We've been back at the office for a couple of days now. Brianna hasn't spoken a word to me, unless our work makes it absolutely necessary. She keeps up the bare minimum so that our sudden distance doesn't attract too much office gossip. Outside of that, though, she hasn't so much as glanced at me. Do I blame her? Not at all. I've been fraught with worry that she'd tell someone about what happened last Saturday, but it seems like she genuinely hasn't. There have been a couple of casual comments stating that it looks like our honeymoon period is over, but thankfully nothing more than that. Give me just a second. Doing something here. Perfect. Okay. I can't sum up how grateful I am for her secrecy, especially because I feel like I probably don't deserve it. Between mind-numbing hours of data entry and paperwork sorting, I've been trying to think about everything she said that night. My mental state, the possibility of me having PTSD. But I still can't bring myself to open that Pandora's box just yet. I'm not sure I'm capable of it. Hi, Borealis. How are you doing? I read that as Borealis Abroad for a second, and then I thought, where'd you go? Weren't you just in the Netherlands? But yeah, aboard. Got it. Aware of movement around me, I look up to see that the workday is basically over. It's almost time to leave. Everyone gathers their things, and I do the same. I don't get involved in the usual banter, though. I feel like I've been cast adrift, separate from everything. I bury my gaze deep into my bag, making sure that I've got all my stuff. While I'm still rummaging, I hear someone clear their throat nearby, as if to get my attention. Oh. What is she... This is for you. She slips me a small paper bag, and before I can even process it... Have we seen this picture of her in her work dress yet? I don't think we have. And that makes me even sadder. She's gone. Bemused, but very curious, I glance around at everyone else in the room. They're all chatting away, paying me no real attention. Unable to wait, I hide the bag under the desk and take a peek. The first thing I pull out is a small blue box. As I'm opening it, a rush of realization hits me and my chest clenches in sadness. It's the necklace, isn't it? It's the necklace. Oh, that just hurts. That just hurts so bad. This is like... This one is actually worse than the Malik and Ash routes, because we never really gave Malik or Ash anything that they had to return Malik just straight up ignored us. Ash was too nervous to be around us. Here, Brianna is actively pushing us away, and that just hurts even worse. The amethyst stone gleams at me brightly, as though completely unaware of what it witnessed and how the sight of it is hurting me. Oh, by the way, Borealis, I saw that your new game is launching on Steam, or is it a new patch on Steam with voice acting? What is it? Regardless, congrats. That's exciting. I would absolutely buy it, except for the fact that I'm probably going to have to play it on stream when we port it to consoles, so I want to keep myself in the dark. That being said, I actually might go ahead and buy it anyway, with the understanding that I'm probably not going to play it until I have to play it for EAS. I want to support you in your excellent work. Anyway, I close the box bitterly, taking a look at the other item in the bag. It's a folded piece of paper with Brianna's handwriting scrawling out a single sentence. I don't feel like wearing this anymore. And who can blame her? All right. Oh, yes. Well, I got another Borealis visual novel to look forward to playing in the future. I know it's fair, but my God, it stings. I shove everything hurriedly into my work bag, as if to banish it from all existence. Hi, Dim. $160 of regret that I never want to think about again. Me when I tried upgrading my plane flight. I think that's true. The fact that Brianna brought up PTSD, well, first of all, her talking about mental health in the first place and that she works with people who have those issues, I already knew that already made her more qualified to talk about or to look into what is wrong with the protagonist. PTSD, bringing that up, makes me think that we're going to have an actual journey to try and cure that, like a diagnosis and a cure. And, I don't know if there's going to be therapy, but in the pursuit of getting better, a lot of the time that means having to get worse. If you have some kind of a baggage, emotional baggage on you, you kind of have to understand what the cause of that baggage is, and sometimes the cause is stuff that you yourself are responsible for, and that can hurt to have to accept that and process that. I mean, yeah, you're right, PTSD can't be cured. I think I've explained myself pretty well. A lot of people do therapy thinking that it's supposed to make you feel better, and that's not necessarily true. Therapy is supposed to help you understand what the root cause of a problem is and how to deal with it. Sometimes, if you're the cause, you have to come to grips with that. Again, I'm not expecting for Idiot Skull to get therapy. Doesn't seem like the kind of protagonist who would want to do that, but yeah, I am positive there's going to be a lot of big feels. I still have that stupid thing in my throat. I don't know what it is. It's not going away. It's so stupid. It's well into the evening, but ever since Brianna gave me the necklace back, my world has stood still. My body had walked me to the station, took the train home, and unlocked the door, but my mind had been in a different dimension. I sit here, turning the necklace around in my fingers, and growing more depressed by the moment. I wish so badly that we could turn back time. Well, we do that every October. The date that Brianna and I had enjoyed before I unleashed hell on her was so wonderful. We laughed, we kissed, we committed to each other. I want that back so much, and yet I know I can't have it. I ruined everything with my desperation. That's what it was, wasn't it? An obsessive need to secure a love that would never betray me. That's what all of this is about. Brianna was definitely right about that part. My parents made me feel so insignificant that I turned to romance to get my share of love, to feel validated. I can admit that that's true, but the way I've treated people, I always feel like my actions were justified, like my partners deserved the way I manipulated them. There was just too much danger of them losing interest and ditching me, leaving me without the love I craved. Almost like it was my right to be able to treat them like that. I'd been made to feel like nothing by my parents. As a result, I deserved to be able to gain and keep love in whatever way I saw fit. I'm a victim, not a villain. But Brianna sees that very differently. She accepts that I've been hurt, but she sees my actions as toxic, rather than the appropriate reactions of someone who's been wronged. Is she right? I could argue against it as much as I want, but there's one piece of evidence staring me in the face that proves my guilt. I drove her away. With my other relationships, I could imagine that some things were the other person's faults. With Brianna, what happened is crystal clear. A genuine romance was blooming between us, and then I took what measures I thought were necessary, and it horrified her. Mortified, probably, as well. I can't pin years of arguing or blurred lines of blame on that one. It was entirely my actions that lost me her affection. I guess perhaps she might be right. Have I been seeing things wrong all this time? It's so hard to think about. This perspective is all I know. PTSD. It would make sense now that I think about it. An event that warped my view of life in a bad way. That sounds exactly like me. But if I really do have it, then what does that make me? A freak? A psycho? She actually used that word against me that night. She called me a psycho right before I tried to gag her for the first time. She probably didn't mean it though, considering everything she said afterwards, just a heat of the moment thing. But it still makes me feel like shit because it might be true. Am I beyond saving? Or could I manage to do as she's done and work to improve myself? Her story was genuinely inspiring. I couldn't believe what she's been through and how much she's grown since she started trying. Whether I could do something like that is highly questionable to me. I don't like the idea of drugs or therapy. It all seems so cold and accusing, like confirmation that I'm evil or something. Actually, I promised, didn't I? That was her condition in return for her not telling anyone or calling the police. I had to try to get help. I guess that technically means that I have to. Hi, Andrea. I'm so scared.
Understood.
Oh no, here's the discount boss from Wish.com again. But it's a cliche, but it's true. The first step is admitting you have a problem. And I think Idiot Skull just did that. Excuse me. Are you listening, Skull? I don't want to have to repeat myself. I nod tensely, wishing that this conversation would end. It's Friday. Unlike my coworkers who are laughing their way through the last day of the working week, I've been summoned to the boss's office. So I'm curious, Borealis. Let me clarify something first. Venus was your first visual novel, and this was your second, correct? Or were there more? That's part one of my question. I just want to make sure I get that fact correct first. With the way I've been moping around all week, I should have seen this coming. It's not like you to underperform like this. I would have given you a pass if it had been the odd day, but you've delivered consistently poor results this entire week. Everybody else is up to date and ready for the next project, but we're still waiting for your report. You know we can't go ahead without it. Yes, sir. Correct, okay. Here's my question. What was the biggest thing between Venus and True Colors? What would you say was the thing that you most improved? Or to put it another way, what did you do in this game that you didn't do in Venus that required you to have to learn something new in order to make it happen? Because this is a bigger game, it's a different game with more routes and a lot more dialogue and takes longer to complete. But I feel like there has to be more to it than just that. I mean, we have, for example, every time Idiot Skull talks, we have the picture that flashes there in the background. What was the biggest difference between that game and this game that you feel you had to learn something new in order to make this game happen? I probably could have phrased that better, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Oh?
Is there a reason for this sudden slip, Skull? Is something going on at Elm? I can't possibly answer that question truthfully without landing both myself and Brianna in hot water. It's complicated. The boss exhales in frustration, though there's a tiny hint of pity in his eyes. Pity for himself for being ordered from some knockoff company in China, I guess. Well, whatever it is, I hope it resolves quickly for you. You're one of my best employees in this section. I need you back on form, you hear? He grips my shoulder and gives it a firm, encouraging shake. I nod again, appreciating the fact that he's not automatically just shredding me to pieces over this. He's a fair man.
Now then.
I'll give you a chance to get yourself together. I will have to take action if things don't change. He gazes at me worriedly. All right, taking a moment to read your response now. Well, there you go. Okay. So your writing style changed a little, but most of it was just figuring out how to add more assets and work better with the assets you were already used to. That makes sense. Excuse me. So, like, whenever someone talks,
Understood?
their character, their sprite, actually moves up and down on screen. I'm trying to remember. That did not happen with Venus. I have pictured in my mind's eye Haruka, and it's mostly just still images of her. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. It's a visual novel. But yeah, there is a lot more to this. To make it a little more, I don't know what the best word is, evolved. A little more, yeah. I don't want to say polished, because Venus was plenty polished, but this is like more, yeah. Anyway, I was just curious. Well, there you go, and I think that it works out really well. Especially when there's multiple characters on screen at once, having them move around a little helps, like, just little things like that go a long way. If I were to make one tiny suggestion for future games, if there are multiple characters on screen, if it could figure out a way to fade out one of the other characters or put like a 20% transparent black on them to make them dimmer than the other characters that are currently speaking, that are not in focus. That's something that I've seen in other visual novels that I think works pretty well. That's like the one thing I could think of that, yes, that's also an option. That's the one thing I could think of where I'm trying to think what's common in other VNs I've seen that I haven't seen in this. Of course, I've seen plenty of them where like their lips move or it's, you know, completely animated, but that's so much extra work. And also, of course, fully voice acted, but you know, in terms of a visual novel of this caliber, that's the one thing I could think of is just dimming them a little bit. Dimming, that's the good word. Dimming them a little when they're not the focus. That's all. And of course, that kind of thing is completely optional. I think that this is great as it is. I was just curious. No, I'll be better from now on. He nods with significance, as though holding me to a binding verbal contract.
All right.
All right, then. Go on. Now, go on. Get that report finished. He pats me on the arm and strides out of the room. I follow, going in the opposite direction and heading back toward my desk. I'd better take this seriously. The last thing I need after all this crap is to lose my job, too. Could be worse. You could let Ash down and lose your job. Which, you know, I don't know how I would know that, but just saying. As I head into our section, I pass Brianna and Ash, who are having a conversation about paperwork. I shoot Ash a casual smile as I go, just to be friendly.
Hey.
It's returned back to me. Trying to be optimistic, I throw the same smile at Brianna, but sadly,
Oh.
I'm disappointed.
Wow.
So yeah, Ash, as I was saying... She turns back to Ash and continues their chat, shutting me down. Ouch. I slip past them, half running the rest of the way to my desk. Every time I see her, I feel worse about everything. The only thing that might make her start approving of me again is the one thing that seems practically impossible to do. But if I want her to look at me with appreciation once more, then I've got to get help. Damn it. Alright. I'll try. From here on out, there should be nothing familiar to the story. Everything up till this point has had a little bit of an echo throughout all the routes. Even that conversation with the boss is copy and pasted. Nothing wrong with it. But from this moment on, we are completely in the dark. Completely new territory. Yes. On a completely empty train. This feels really weird. It's the middle of the week, but instead of typing away mindlessly in the office with everyone else, I'm on the train, heading to a doctor's practice. Reminds me, I got an eye doctor appointment the last Monday of the year. It's going to be my first time getting my eyes checked since like 2017. To be fair, I know that my prescription is out. It was out when I got these glasses in the first place, but I didn't follow up on it, and yeah, so it's going to be really nice to get the glasses and be able to actually see things without having to squint. A little different from Idiot Skull's appointment, though. I actually did it. I got an appointment to talk about mental health. I'm still in partial disbelief. I guess the torture of not having Brianna on my side anymore pushed me over the edge, and I cracked. I feel like doing something just because a loved one asked you to do it. I wonder how many people seek help because of that who wouldn't have otherwise. I'm willing to bet that it's a significant number of people. Sitting here awkwardly, I can't deny that I'm kind of terrified about it. What would Brianna say if she were here? Not that I have her support anymore. I did a great job of losing that. Feeling antsy, I pick up my phone and start scrolling through my contacts, trying to find someone who might be able to offer me some advice or encouragement. Naturally, there's no one I feel close enough to. No one except Brianna. She might hate me right now, but she's the only one who understands what I'm facing. Yep, absolutely. We'll see what happens. I agonize for a moment and then give in to my temptation, tapping out a message. I think I delete and rewrite it about 4 times, having no idea what to say. In the end, I send her a single question. It's a bit dramatic, but it's exactly what I'm thinking. How do you tell someone that you think you're insane? Maybe that was stupid. I shove my phone back into my pocket, staring out the window anxiously. She probably won't even respond anyway. Well, if this is the middle of the work week when you're supposed to be at work, I assume she's at work, and since she's still trying to be such a model employee, she probably isn't going to answer her phone. Then again, only a minute passes before my pocket buzzes. Did she? She actually did. What does that mean? Is that why you're off work right now? Are you seeing a doctor? Nerves and excitement jolt through my body at the fact that she's talking to me. It's not much, but I hang on to it with everything I have. I confirm her suspicion, telling her about the appointment and hinting at how scared I am. It doesn't take her too long to reply, but it feels like an age before my phone buzzes again. I don't want to get into that big convo here, but I do want to congratulate you on taking this first step, Skull. I'm surprised you actually did it. You and I both, Brianna. My phone vibrates with the second text. It's okay that you're scared. I was too when I had my first session. It'll lead to a much better future for you, though, so you should go for it. A much better future. That seems so unlikely. I think I zone out for quite a while because my hands suddenly jerk with the buzzing of a third text. What time's your appointment? 12:45 at the big Hanover Clinic. I'm on the train there now. I stare at my phone, waiting eagerly for her reply. I'm treated to just one last message. Good luck. It'll be fine. You can do it. It's a bit of a formal, impersonal reply, but I can't exactly hope for much else. The fact that she spoke to me at all feels like a miracle. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I go back to gazing out the window. This place is bigger than I remember. Pulling myself together as best I can, I stride up the wide pathway and head inside. Why are medical practices always so big, huh? What's up with that? This looks like, I don't know what I'd call this. This looks like a DMV or an airport an airport gate. I don't think I've ever seen a doctor's office with chairs like this before. I guess whatever city Idiot Skull lives in is, doing this setup. I check in at the reception desk, then take a seat in the waiting room. Looking around at the other patients, I feel super exposed. They can't know why I'm here, but somehow it feels like everyone can see through me. 12:40. I don't have too long to wait. Well, if doctor's appointments are anything to go by, well, normal doctors, therapists have actually always been pretty on time, pretty punctual. Regular doctors, though, you get an appointment at 12:45, they'll let you in the back at 1:30, and the doctor won't see you a minute before 2. That's how it usually happens here, anyway. I try to occupy myself by checking social media, thinking about what I'll have for dinner tonight, even trying to guess the amount of seats in the room. But it doesn't help. I'm still petrified of this appointment. A horrible scenario plays out in my head, where the doctor tells me I'm a psycho just like Brianna had. They call in security and cart me off to some kind of asylum where I'm trapped forever. That's about right for our doctors, too. That's unfortunate. God, I really shouldn't think like that. Brianna told me that it's not nice, also not accurate to real life. That's probably not going to happen, right? Right? Oh my God, I'm starting to panic. I don't think I can do this. I don't want to go in there and confess what a monster I think I might be. Jumping to my feet, I skitter toward the door. I'm not sure if I'm just going out for a breath of fresh air or whether I'm going to keep running and abandon my appointment, but I go regardless. I feel about 2% better when the breeze hits my face, but it's not enough to calm me down. I think I'm going to bail. I can't do this. I start taking big strides away from the building, quaking with shame and adrenaline. I don't want this. What? Am I about to cry? Does this mean what I think it means? Wow. Genuinely never would have seen that coming. Holy cow. I grind to a sharp halt as Brianna's unexpected appearance fills my vision. Am I hallucinating or is this real? Oh yeah, Dim, like I would dodge 2 bad endings just to get an unavoidable bad ending right here. Oh, what are you doing here? That came out pretty bluntly, but I hadn't meant to be rude. I'm just really confused. Brianna shifts uncomfortably, looking almost regretful about being here. How'd she get here so fast? Well, I guess she did know the time and the place, so probably just ran to the train and was like, sorry, boss, got an emergency. Wow, I am so conflicted about seeing her right now. I'm super happy she's here, but I'm also... I feel guilty as sin right now, and I haven't even done anything wrong. Look, I know this is weird, but I wanted to come and wish you luck. I'm hit with another jolt of disbelief. Then I actually look at her properly, noticing her work clothes. Aren't you meant to be in the office?
Yeah.
I came on my lunch break. I just felt like... She still hasn't met my eyes properly yet, and her hands clench with tension. She's probably feeling quite vulnerable about the fact that she's essentially alone with me again for the first time since, well, you know.
Actually...
I wanted to make sure you went in for your appointment, okay? She glances up at me at last. Her gaze suggests that she knows exactly why I'm outside right now and not in the waiting room. I don't even need to explain my terror. How did you know God, I feel pathetic. How did you know I'd run away like the child that I really am? Brianna's expression softens just a little bit.
Well...
I just remember my first appointment back when I started therapy. It was terrifying. You feel so abnormal, admitting that your mind isn't the way you think it should be. I know it probably sounds cliche, but I genuinely know what you're going through right now, Skull. I've stood in the exact same spot. We share a serious look. feel my heart ache at the fact that even after everything I did to her, she still has enough empathy left to want to encourage me with this.
You know,
I can promise you that after the first time, it gets easier and easier. You won't feel like this when you come for your next appointment. Next appointment? Jeez, I could hardly process the idea of doing this one. Safe to say, not a bad ending, then? Safe to say. I dodged 2 bad endings last week. Thank you very much. Still super proud of that. No one can take that away from me. I try to accept her words, but my nerves start jittering again. I'll level with you, Brianna. I really don't think I could do this after all. It's just too much. I hate how timid my voice sounds, but I'm so damn scared. My whole body is trembling.
oh,
What makes you think that? Yeah. I take it that other streamer that we keep bringing up, did not double dodge. Safe to say it was not a double dodge. It might have been a, double whammy, in fact. Her gaze pierces me strongly, as though she really wants to know what I'm thinking. Part of me wants to spill it all immediately. He did not. The other part wants to jam my mouth shut and refuse to let the toxicity escape. I guess Brianna's the only person who'd understand any of this. Ah, tremendous. I'm going to assume that this doesn't matter. I am running out of save slots. So, do we want to be honest here? Boy, she is very patient letting me sit here and think about how what I want to say. Going with this one. I feel like these second route questions don't affect the ending, so I don't feel the need to stress out over it so much. I'm going to need therapy after all the stress this game put me through. I'm just worried about what the doctor might think of me if I tell them everything. I suppress a shiver. You know, how I've acted in the past, what I've done to people, to you. She averts her eyes uncomfortably. She must carry some truly dreadful memories now, thanks to me. I'm just scared of, well, what if they think I'm too far gone? Like, I can't just be helped with therapy or something simple. They might take me away, put me somewhere. I actively try not to be disrespectful about mental hospitals this time. The thought of having my freedom taken away is still horrifying, though. No, Skull. They won't send you away. Her voice is suddenly much louder than before.
it's okay.
They won't make you go to any kind of facility against your will, if that's what you're thinking. Yes, there are people out there that need that sort of environment, but you're not like that, Skull. But I made you...
Wait!
I know! She interrupts my argument, although I can't understand why. That was the first time I saw a bold text in this. Wow, that got me off guard. From Brianna, of all people. I've stalked someone to the point of having a restraining order put against me, and I basically held Brianna hostage and tried to force her to comply with my twisted wishes. Doesn't that make me exactly that kind of person?
I get it.
I know what you did, what you've done, but there's a difference between someone who acts like that out of serious illness and someone who admits that they made a mistake. Some people's delusions are so powerful that they basically have no morals. They can't discern between right and wrong.
You know?
You made this appointment because you know that your actions were wrong, didn't you? You have this conscience to admit your fault, and you don't want things to stay this way. You want to change yourself for the better. Isn't that right? Her eyes search me hopefully, as though she really wants to hear me confirm it. A million thoughts swim in my head fuzzily, but in the end, I nod. Yeah, I guess. I don't think the way I see things is okay anymore. It's a bigger pill to swallow, but I don't feel like I have a choice. Bitter, not bigger. Now that I've accepted that I'm to blame, I can't pretend otherwise.
Right?
That's exactly what I mean. Your morals are still intact, and you're striving to move away from the destructive behavior. That makes all the difference. That's why they won't force you to do anything or lock you up anywhere. Besides, these doctors are used to hearing about people's mental struggles. How many times a week do you think they must hear about dark feelings like yours? It's normal to them. She softens her voice, trying to sound more encouraging. I guess it sort of reaches me. It's a fair point. That's why these doctors are here. They probably deal with people who are a lot worse than me, too. I guess I might not come across so bad after all. I nod again, too lost in thought to know what to say.
Listen.
Honestly, Skull, it'll be okay. You're not a monster or a lunatic. You're just someone who needs help. We all need help in some way or another. I certainly did. She says this without a shred of shame, and I look up at her again with admiration. She really has lived this whole thing and come out the other side better for it. I don't know if I have the fortitude to do the same, but at least I feel a little less scared about trying it now thanks to her. Calming down slightly, I find my tongue again. Thanks for that, Brianna. I really appreciate it. She nods awkwardly.
Well...
Anyway, we could talk forever about this stuff, but you really should go back inside. I'm surprised they haven't called you already. Yeah, good point. I'd almost forgotten about going back in to face my fears. Talking out here with Brianna like this has made me feel a bit like I'm floating in limbo.
By the way...
Plus, I need to get back to work before I'm late. I nod, realizing again how surprising it is that she's here with me. Why did you... I'm not sure how to word this. I'm just shocked that you'd come here. Brianna pauses for a moment, and her thoughts seem to race. Well, this is a big step, so I just thought I'd wish you luck, that's all. She throws the comments out casually, as though it's no big deal. However, I can tell that there's more to it than that. As if to prove me right, she looks away, and a slight blush rises in her cheeks. And, well, when I went for my first appointment, I had my parents with me. They backed me up when I was scared. I realized you were coming here by yourself, and that's pretty tough, so I guess I wanted to lend you some support. You know, so you're not alone. My heart melts at this, but my brain protests, flinging a million reasons why I probably don't deserve this kindness into my head. For the sake of simplicity, I ignore them. She is an absolute angel, wow. I have very similar thoughts about her right now as I did Ash. Like I said, with Malik, he took a very hands-off approach. He actively avoided us. He only interacted with us a few times when it felt like he had no other choice, and then only showed up at the end during our play to offer his support. Ash was a lot more hands-on, just straight up, you have this toxicity, let's try and work on it together. Brianna is very much the same, and I like that. It makes it feel a bit more we're going for a happy ending, and it feels like this is more towards it, and this feels perfectly natural as well. I felt like Malik's route felt the most like what I would do if I were in the situation, where I would like, nope, hell no, bye-bye. Ash was way more forgiving than I think I could ever be. This, quite possibly, it's been a while since I played Ash's route, so it's a little fuzzy to me, but this feels very natural, and it feels very sweet of her. Like, she's made it clear she's not excusing our behavior, but she's here to support us to make it feel better, to make everything better. She's here to support us, not to, I don't know how to put it. She's here to support us. And, yes. Yeah, what you said. But she's still keeping her distance. So, and it feels a lot more natural for her as well, because she deals with mental health victims all the time. She's been one herself. So she's right. She has been in the protagonist's shoes, so to speak. So she knows how hard this is, and I guess she's able to look past all that happened and be like, but they're trying, and I need to help them if I can. If I could describe this, it would be selfless. She comes across as selfless, and man, she is an angel. Honestly. Well, that's really amazing of you, Brianna. Thanks so much for coming. I'm not doing it again! She almost shouts this, seeming embarrassed or frustrated about her compassion toward me. She sounds like a stubborn child. If there weren't such a serious conversation, I'd laugh. I just came along for this first time since I know it's hard. I won't show up after this. No, that's fine. I get it. She nods, and we fall back into an awkward silence. It's uncomfortable, but today proves that she must still care about my well-being at least a little, so I guess I can bear it. Before either of us have to try to come up with something to say, we're saved by the sound of someone else's voice coming from inside the waiting room. Ah, they're calling my name at last. They must have shouted it a few times, judging by the way the person's voice is raised. Both Brianna and I turn our heads and then look at each other with a kind of finality in our eyes.
Listen.
This is it, Skull. Go. Get in there. Yeah. Okay. I'm still petrified, but her encouragement urges my legs to start moving anyway, and I reverse clumsily toward the door.
Yeah.
Good luck. It'll be fine. Thanks. Against my fear's better judgment, I enter the building once more. I cross the room shakily, holding up my hand to indicate that I'm the person they're looking for. The doctor's expression settles, and he invites me to follow him. I fall into step behind him, feeling as though I'm walking to my doom. For a split second, I glance back toward the door, not to think about running away again, but to see if Brianna has left. Oh, that was cute. I hadn't seen anything like that in this game, so I wasn't expecting that. Just beep. No, she's still there. I see her loitering by the entrance, watching to see if I can actually go through with this. She waited right until the last moment with me. With no time to consider anything, I follow the doctor down a hallway, losing sight of her. After turning a corner, he welcomes me into his office. I take the single, lonely patient's seat opposite him, feeling as though a spotlight has just turned on above me. What voice should I give this guy? Excuse me. Now then, You mentioned in your call that you'd like to talk about mental health. Can you tell me a bit about what's been going on and why you feel as though you need this help? His voice is gentle, but it does nothing to soothe the whirlwind of emotions that rages inside me. I feel as though I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, terrified of jumping in case there really isn't a lifeline waiting for me at the bottom to break my fall. However, Brianna has jumped this cliff and survived. I'm here now, whether I like it or not. So I might as well just... Heaving the biggest sigh of my life, I let my mouth take over from my brain. I think there might be something wrong with me. Funny, I'm usually only ever in the boss's office when he calls me in for a quick word or a group chat. This is the first time I've come here of my own accord. I loiter awkwardly, waiting for him to return. The papers I'm holding start to crease a little in my nervous grip. That day, that first attempt at talking to a doctor, was truly monumental for me. I felt totally alien, insane, weak, and abnormal, just like I thought I would. But I got the ball rolling, and boy, did it roll fast. The doctor listened to everything I said and decided that I needed some sessions with a therapist. Thanks to the seriousness of what I'd told him about myself, he'd put me onto a high priority waiting list. It wasn't long before I saw someone. I had 2 introductory sessions with this therapist in which I shared my struggles, my insecurities, my abusive behavior, everything. I actually really surprised myself with how easy I found it to talk once I started. I thought I'd struggle to surrender, but it turned out the opposite. I almost couldn't shut up in the end, spelling out horror after horror. It helped that the therapist didn't react with gasps of shock or wide, terrified eyes. She was totally composed and pretty neutral in her responses. I know she's trained to be impartial like that, but I'd been expecting her to crack at least once. Especially when I told her about what I did to Brianna and what my plans had been that night. God, that felt awful to confess out loud. Physically painful almost, like trying to cough up broken glass. Ugh. Excellent colloquialism. But she'd heard it all without flinching, and typed up a furious whirlwind of notes as I talked. She must have enough for a novel by now. A visual novel, perhaps? She shared her thoughts with my doctor, and the pair of them put me through a variety of tests. After the results came back, I was called in and given the truth about their suspicions. The truth that I now hold in my hands, written on these papers. I scanned the text with worried eyes for the millionth time. It is my belief that the patient shows strong signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, in addition to slightly lesser but still notable signs of borderline personality disorder. That would track. I didn't even consider that. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I don't pretend to be, but from what little I know about borderline personality disorder, that lines up. Treatment is to consist of weekly sessions with a psychiatrist in addition to a trial of SSRI antidepressant medication. The patient also has been entered into consideration for care program placement if symptoms and behavior continue in severity. In this case, a key worker will be assigned for more close contact support and treatment. Every time I read it, it becomes more real and more damning. Brianna was right about me, and there's even more to it than she'd guessed. Maybe she guessed and she just didn't want to bring it up. Out of consideration. I guess I don't entirely blame myself anymore, considering that my parents essentially started it, but I still feel like a very twisted person. I flipped the page over, gulping with dread. On the other side is a list of resources that I could use if my urges to do anything bad rise up again, or if I have any other kind of mental crisis. Some are things I expected, like phone numbers for suicide prevention lines and websites for online chats. If you're in the United States, suicide prevention is 988. Just throwing that out there. Don't be afraid to use it. Others are a bit more out there and almost play into what I'd ultimately been afraid of. There's a section that explains what would happen if I was deemed too unstable, too dangerous to be left alone. I'd be advised to go to a hospital. If I refused, then they might be able to take me regardless if I was violent or threatening enough. It does add that if there were to happen, it wouldn't be the locked up forever scenario that I pictured. Instead, they'd be more likely to just give me some tranquilizing drugs to calm me down and monitor my feelings and behaviors until I felt satisfied that I'd be okay again. Then I'd be free to go. I guess that's a little reassuring, but not by much. Anyway, that document is mainly for me. I don't have to show it to my boss if I don't want to. The other letter is what I'm here for. I swap the papers around and reread the second letter since he's taking forever to get here. It's a briefly worded request from my doctor asking that I be allowed the morning off work every Thursday. That is now my official weekly time slot for my proper therapy sessions. To my relief, it doesn't go into detail about why I need the therapy, just that it's a requirement. At least that way, whether he finds out the full picture or not is up to me. This feels a lot more natural than the other two routes. A lot more natural. This feels like what I would expect such a scenario to play out like. And it feels also, I don't know how better to describe this, it feels like whatever comes from this route feels like it's going to be a more permanent solution. The other two were great. They felt nice, very optimistic, but this actually feels like the proper steps are being taken to make sure that whatever the changes are, that they actually last. And it's never a sure thing. Never is it ever a sure thing that changes will last. But this feels a lot more optimistic to me. This feels a lot more encouraging that the changes that we see in this route will be a bit more permanent. The sound of the door opening makes me jolt, and I turn my attention, and I jump to attention as the boss enters at last.
Ah,
Hi, Skull. Sorry, I was on holiday in Brisbane. What brings you here? If only there were a way of saying this without making it sound terrible. Yeah, he is. I've got a request form for you, from my doctor. I pass it to him, making sure to keep the diagnosis letter firmly in my other hand. I'm not sure if I'm ready to reveal its secrets just yet. He eyes me curiously, taking the form and reading through it. Okay. I see. I'm guessing this has something to do with your struggling performance at work, Skull. Oh God, don't bring that up again. I nod sheepishly, figuring that it's easier to just let him assume the most simple version of events.
oh,
A therapist? Is this a psychotherapist or... No, physiotherapist. Oh. I can see why he'd make that mistake. Therapist could mean either mental or physical. I guess I don't actually have to confess any of the truth at all if I don't want to. I am running out of save slots. Physiotherapist. Means you need to learn how to do this again. This one's tough. Again, this one probably doesn't affect the ending at all. So I'm very curious why we have... Like, this is the first choice I could think of where the love interest is actually not involved. This is actually for us. This is straight up like, this has nothing to do with Brianna at all. Not in the least. She hasn't even come up. This is just straight up, do we want to be honest or do we want to let the lie pass? Like, for our own benefit. We didn't see a choice like this in either of the other two routes, ever, not once. And now that we're here, I don't know what to do. I feel like telling the truth would do a lot of good, but this is work. And I don't want the boss to potentially fire us for being cray-cray. Which I'm sure is something that Idiot School's already thought of and dreaded and had nightmares about. This is an interesting one. I'm not stressed out over this. Because this doesn't affect like an ending, but this is curious. This is interesting. My gut tells me tell the truth, but I'm not Idiot Skull. And now, because it doesn't affect the ending, that makes it even harder for me to decide. Because I'm almost like, well, let's just do the thing that I myself would never do because it doesn't matter, just to see how it plays out. But I have a conscience. Ooh. Oh, screw it. Might as well be real about it. I don't have to go into every gory detail. It's a psychiatrist, actually, for mental health. I've been having some issues lately. I almost sigh loudly after saying it. Even that alone took a lot of guts to admit. The boss meets my eyes with a surprised look. He must not think that I'm the type to struggle with that sort of thing. Idiot Skull hides it well. Just look at all the other routes before we did something stupid.
Oh?
Oh? I'm surprised to hear that, Skull. It's not your responsibilities here in the office that are affecting you, is it? No, it's nothing like that. He seems relieved, but his concerned expression doesn't shift much. Well, I'd like to think that this company takes care of its employees, so if there's anything I should be aware of, then feel free to tell me. You certainly aren't obliged to share the ins and outs of your home life, Skull. He holds up his hands in a mock surrender pose.
All right.
But if there's anything that you might feel might affect your presence here at work, then I'm happy to hear it. He gazes patiently as he waits for my reply. I find myself oddly touched by his consideration. He'd always been a pretty professional boss. He doesn't gossip or really get to know people too much. He's just here for the job. Somehow I thought he'd be less understanding about something like this, especially since it'd result in me missing half a day in the office every week. I guess he has a kind streak in him I hadn't seen before. My lips part, making me look like I'm on pause as I wonder what to say. Without really thinking about it, my eyes drift down to the diagnosis letter in my hand. Post-traumatic stress disorder. SSRI antidepressant medication. Care program placement. These are all phrases I kinda never want anyone else in the world to associate with me. Something I'd rather take to my grave than confess to everyone. And yet, the longer my silence goes on, the more worried the boss looks. A genuine concern for my well-being clouds his face. I'm not sure what comes over me, but I let myself surrender to the moment. My arm extends, offering the diagnosis letter out to him. He takes it from me. For a second, I feel as though I'm a mother who's lost her baby, or a king reluctantly handing down his precious crown. How about a student who's about to give his mom a report card that has a few D's on it? Part of me wants to change my mind and snatch it back, like that's an option. I pull my arms close to my chest, bunching my fists and nerves as I wait for him to read it. His brow furrows more and more with each sentence. And then he looks up at me with a sharp sense of sympathy. Okay, actually, I was curious about this other thing. So, clearly, this is a much bigger game than Venus. Much bigger. About how many, So, aside from backgrounds, there's the sprites and the CGs. So, I'm only thinking about sprites right now. With Venus, what comes to mind is the teacher had, I think, only one sprite. Haruka had like 3, maybe 4? I have a hard time remembering. So there's like 5 or 6 sprites in that whole game, unless there's another character with sprites that I don't remember. The protagonist didn't have one. Haruka had several. The teacher had 1 or 2. There's clearly a lot more in this game. I think a single one of the love interests has more sprites than every other sprite in that game combined. What was the decision when you decided to make a game this big? I'm sure you had to think about a budget, commissioning artists to make that many different sprites, that much different art for all the characters. Not to mention, like, there's not just the love interest, there's the boss, there's the co-workers, Lydia and Sean. There's the facial expressions for Idiot Skull that are behind Real Skull's webcam. There's a lot of sprite art. So, was that a factor in you deciding how many characters there would be in this game, or was it more you wrote the game and then you commissioned art for the characters, and it just was whatever it was? Although there's also some characters, like for example in the Malik route, there's all the characters that we interact with at the Playhouse that they have lines, but they don't have voices or key art or sprites of any kind. So was that a creative decision or was that a budget decision? I could see it totally being a creative decision because they're not the focus of the story, so why bother? Well, there you go. And I think it was worth it. It feels like, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like going from a video camera that you hold, like it feels like it's going from a camcorder to your first independent film, for lack of a better way of putting it. You start small in a perfectly valid way. That still made a beautiful game. I love Venus. But then you just graduated to this and everything's bigger and better and grander and more expensive, I'm sure. But there you go. So, yeah. That's what I thought. I just wanted to ask. You're in here. I have the developer of this game in here. I may as well ask them questions, right? His brow furrows more and more with each sentence, and then he looks up at me with a sharp sense of sympathy. He has 2 sprites. Haruka had 4 sprites, and then the same ones in her casual outfit. Oh, that's right. She had a casual outfit. I had completely forgotten about that. And Kakeru's parents, right. And Music Club. Oh, man, I guess I need to replay Venus because, yeah, I had only remembered Haruka and the homeroom teacher. But yeah, you're right. There was also the music club teacher and Kakeru's parents. Yeah. And then her casual outfit, right. Also, I've got Haruka in my head now. I just want to throw out once more, her hair was beautiful. That's all. She had amazing hair. Anyway. Goodness, Skull. I had no idea. That's a lot to deal with. You had no idea? That makes two of us, buddy. Look, this is... He gestures at the paper, seeming almost burdened by it.
Now then.
This is really quite intense. I didn't know you were going through something like this when I was talking to you about your wobbly performance. I'm sorry if I went too hard on you. No, you had every right to. I was bringing the team down. Her hair was definitely the standout of her features, of her appearance. It was gorgeous. Right. Still, I understand now why you'd be struggling. I appreciate your honesty, Skull. I'll keep this in mind in future. We need to make sure that every member of the team is pulling their weight, of course. But I can certainly give you the benefit of the doubt about this. This diagnosis is very new, correct? Yeah, I've only been seeing a doctor about it recently.
Ah,
Exactly. Exactly. It's good of you to get to the root of the problem and sort yourself out like this. This will be a tricky time for you, but once things even out, I'm sure you'll be back on form just like always, right? He looks at me with optimism. Despite barely being able to think about the future yet, I nod. I don't want to let him down.
all right.
Alright then, nothing to worry about. I'll have a response to this typed up before lunchtime, so you can give it back to your doctor. He wiggles the request form, indicating that he's going to approve my Thursday mornings off. That's a relief. Thanks, boss. I really appreciate it. So what would have happened if we had said yes, it was a physiotherapist? Would we have just not handed him our diagnosis and hope for the best, maybe? I guess there is one way to find out. Oh well.
Good job.
I think that's the first time I've heard boss say good job. Don't mention it. We'll be able to work around whatever you miss each week. He hands both papers back to me and I clutch them to my body protectively.
Now then.
Go on, get back to your morning. I'll take care of this. Thanks a lot. I shoot him a genuinely grateful look, and he nods, sitting down at his desk. I hightail it back to my section, with both my letters and most of my pride still intact, surprisingly. He's a good guy. Reeling a little, I sit down at my desk, hoping that some boring old work will make things feel a bit more normal. Waiting for the database to load back up, I tune into the conversation already happening around me.
Morning.
I really can't be bothered with this meeting on Thursday, can you?
Aww.
Oh, Lydia. I'd forgotten about that. Don't remind me. They smirk. It makes me realize that I'd forgotten too. And now... that's Thursday morning, isn't it?
You know it.
Yeah, all morning. We won't be free to laugh about the regional manager's terrible tastes in ties until lunchtime. There's a collective chuckle and I grit my teeth. Well, about that, I'm actually not gonna be able to make it.
Huh?
Why's that? Nobody usually gets a free pass out of these snore fests. I almost don't want to tell them, but I guess it's going to be obvious from now on that I won't be working Thursday mornings anymore, so I don't really have a choice. The boss has given me Thursday mornings to off work from now on. I've got regular sessions with a therapist. My insides cringe with shame. But it seems like my admission has been misinterpreted for the second time.
Wow,
Wow, every week? What did you do? Fall off a ladder or something? How broken are you? There's another group giggle, and I realize that, unlike with the boss, I think I'd rather just let this misunderstanding slide. Wow, our choice is actually continuing on through here, wow. It's one thing to tell my employer what's really going on, but I don't think the entire office needs to know. Letting Sean's mistake become a false truth if I simply grin at him.
Oh, man.
No way, Skull. These boring-ass meetings are almost always on Thursday mornings. You have an automatic get-out clause for every damn one of them.
Ugh, I know.
Lucky! Maybe I should throw myself off a ladder, too. The chat devolves into silly banter about how to avoid unwanted office functions. I phase myself out of it, glad that I'm no longer the center of attention. At least my therapist sessions haven't become a huge point of gossip, it seems. Seeing that my database has loaded, I set myself off to continue working. However, I don't get far before a voice I hadn't expected to hear calls out to me.
Hey,
Skull? Brianna?
actually...
I just realized, if you're not going to be at the meeting, then you'll be the only one of us who hasn't submitted their review from the end of last week. We're supposed to present them when the regional manager's there, remember? Oh. Yeah. Good point. Also, I'm curious, did you have like something like this in mind for Brianna's work outfit, and for that matter, her casual outfit? Did you have actual outfits in mind for these characters, or did you work with your artist and go through iterations before you settled on something you liked? Like when you were writing this, did you imagine Brianna wearing this really nice purple dress at work and then that beautiful white one for her casual? Or was it more of just, hey, artist, I need a business outfit and I need a casual outfit, and they both need to be dresses? What was the process like for Brianna specifically? I remember we talked about Ash a little bit, and you were saying how, like finding the gender neutral clothing for Ash was actually a really big process and you were super happy with it. I'm more curious about the others, especially Brianna. Mostly Brianna, because I'm looking at Brianna.
You know...
If you've got it now, I can hand it in along with mine. That's very thoughtful of her. That's really helpful, Brianna. I do have it here somewhere. I printed it out before we left. I search through my paperwork, and she comes over to my desk properly. I still feel weird about talking to her, even after her surprise visit at my initial doctor's appointment. Things are very strange between us. Found it. I pull out the document I'm looking for, handing it to her. She takes it with a nod. Thanks for that. Hopefully the manager won't... She pauses awkwardly after interrupting me. When she speaks again, her voice is much lower. I know Sean made that ladder joke, but when you say therapist... Of course she can guess the truth. She's the only person here who could. Yeah, it's... well... For the second time today, I feel called to do something I didn't think I would. Brianna is the person who nudged me onto this path in the first place, so I have even less reason to hide from her than I did from the boss. Letting the doctor's words speak for me, I subtly slide my diagnosis letter across the desk so she can read it. Smart! Sensing my wish for secrecy, she doesn't pick it up, but silently skims the words with her eyes. I'm also curious, was she designed from the beginning to have glasses? Or was it just a nice compliment to her dress? Excuse me. Oh, okay. Well. Cute. When she's done, she looks back up at me with surprise and sympathy. She did always have glasses. Okay. I guess I'm not surprised. It fits her very well.
Really?
BPD too? She almost whispers it so that no one else in the room can hear her. I nod grimly.
Yeah?
What's your plan? I've got the therapy sessions every Thursday, and I should be getting put on antidepressants soon. My voice comes out in a sort of fragile murmur. I do not want the others hearing this, but I can say it to Brianna.
Oh.
Are they, She reaches into the bag on her shoulder, turning so that only I can see its opening. She pulls out something I recognize, the packet of antidepressants she showed me on that awful night when I attacked her.
Well.
Are they the same as these? Things had been so intense that night, I hadn't even noticed the name of her pills. Taking a proper look now, I see that stern-looking black font reads Citalopram? Reads this. Read it yourself. That name doesn't ring a bell with me. No, I think mine's something else. I grab the diagnosis letter quietly, flipping it over and reading until I get to the detailed part about my treatment. I got it right the first time, cool. Sertraline, it says.
Ah.
Oh, I've heard of that one. It's probably more suited to multiple disorders. I nod. We have different needs, so it makes sense. Are these real words? Are these real antidepressants? Shows you how little I know about that kind of thing. Brianna slips her antidepressants back into her bag, looking glad that no one seems to have seen anything.
Can I ask you something?
What did the boss say when you asked for Thursday mornings off? He was way more understanding than I thought he'd be, actually. I did show him everything. I nod at the diagnosis letter still on my desk. But yeah, it was fine.
That's good.
It's really brave of you to be honest about why you need the days off, Skull. You didn't have to tell him the whole thing. I'm still in a bit of a daze from doing it, but it was probably the right decision. Let's go! Another right decision! This one having no bearing on the bad endings whatsoever, but it was still the right decision. I feel so accomplished. Brianna's proud of me!
You know?
I told you it'd be okay. The doctors and the boss, they didn't treat you like a freak, did they? She gazes at me seriously, and I swear I see a little emotion in her eyes. I shake my head. No, everyone's been okay about it so far. Okay, well, there you go. Method acting, except it's method writing. Anyway, once again, she was right after all.
Yeah.
Exactly. By the way, she glances around herself carefully.
Don't worry.
I won't breathe a word about this to anyone. You know that, right? I still don't get the feeling that our relationship is mended in any way, but I do know that I can count on her to keep my secret. That alone makes me feel so relieved. I know. Thanks. She nods, and then straightens up, realizing that we'd better get back to work if we don't want to draw attention.
That's great.
Congratulations again, Skull, on getting the help you need, and being honest about it to the people who matter. I really hope your treatment helps. That's the first smile we've seen from her since that night. Oh man, I miss seeing her smile. Such a small smile, but it's such a kind smile. Like, she really does look like such a kind person when she looks at me like that. Looks at Idiot Skull like that, rather. She smiles awkwardly at me, and for a moment, everything seems almost normal. Thanks, Brianna. She heads back to her desk, taking my work document with her, and I let out a long breath. I doubt things will ever actually go back to normal between us. However, if I can keep having moments like this, where she shows that she does care about me in some way, then I guess it's better than nothing. Right now that today's scary stuff's over and done with, Work time. I tidy up my desk, putting back my scattered work paper and snatching up my diagnosis letter and request form. Folding them discreetly, I go to stuff them into the inside of my jacket pocket. Wow. Had a hard time speaking there. Huh. Weird. They don't want to go in. Do I already have something in that pocket? I plunge my free hand in, my fingers closing around a box-shaped object. Oh. Brianna's necklace. I've kept it in my jacket ever since she gave it back to me. I don't know why I still carry that thing around. It's not like she's ever going to want it back. I think a part of me is hoping that such a wish would come true. That one day she'll forgive me and want to wear it again. That's silly. Huffing bleakly, I switch sides. Putting the letters into my other pocket, I take the mouse and keyboard again. Huh, still have it in our pocket.
What has it got in its pockets, is precious?
That was a horrible Gollum impression, and I am sorry. Although, safe to say, it was better than that Gollum collection, or that Gollum impression that they did for the Gollum game. Okay, let me read this again. Treatment should be started at 50 milligrams per day and increased to 100 milligrams per day after 1 to 2 weeks. Yeah, I remember the doctor saying that. This is something very important about depression. It's not a state of mind. It can be, but usually it's not. Usually it is a chemical imbalance in the body, and what antidepressants are for is to try and restore the body to a proper chemical balance. So there's absolutely no shame in needing it. If it makes you better, and if it makes your life and the lives of everyone around you better, then it's not a bad thing. If you have thoughts of harming or killing... Nope, not reading that part. It's late, and I was about to get ready for bed. However, the prescription box on the coffee table caught my eye again, filling me with guilt. My antidepressants came through a few days ago. The doctor went through the guidelines with me, but encouraged me to read the leaflet in the box to make sure I knew all the rules and risks. It was pretty daunting, and sentences like that scared me off. I kept throwing the box back onto the table, promising myself that I'd start them tomorrow. There's been a few tomorrows since then, though, and I'm starting to feel the pressure. I really shouldn't procrastinate over this anymore. And it shows. It really does show, Borealis. It's hard to drum up the courage to take the plunge, though. I've never taken medication like this before, and the prospect of how it will affect me is wiggling me out a little. Wigging me out. Not familiar with that word. Oh, hey, I just realized there's curtains on the windows. That wasn't there before. Cool. Flipping the leaflet over, I reach the section that tells me everything I should avoid while I'm on these pills. Alcohol, figured as much. Ibuprofen, aspirin, okay. Grapefruit juice, that's an unexpected one. Alright, sure. Let's recap how and when I need to take this thing. Apparently you could take sertraline, good lord. Who comes up with these names anyway? Apparently you could take sertraline at any time as long as you stick to the same time each day. Grapefruit juice is funny. It's something about the chemical balance. It's I think it's because it's an acid or something like that. Your gout medicine is the same thing. It's something about the chemical structure of grapefruit juice specifically that sets it apart. It is interesting. It is kind of funny. I figured I'd rather start by taking it just before I go to bed. If I get any unwanted side effects, I can hopefully just sleep through most of them. Speaking of side effects, what are they again? I find the list, and it doesn't exactly motivate me to start taking these things. Dizziness, dry mouth, headache, nausea, changes in appetite, nightmares, a strong sense of restlessness, and, in extremely rare cases, death. Oh boy, that's not even the full list. Do I have to do this? My eyes scan the leaflet again, my stomach starting to flutter with nerves. Then a sudden noise hits the air. Ah! A text! Scared me half to death. Who was texting me at this time anyway? Oh, it's Brianna. I'm pleased to see her name pop up, but it sure is unexpected. Let's see what she has to say. A gallon of grapefruit juice. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a gallon of grapefruit juice? That's absurd. Hi, Skull. Random text, but I wondered if you'd join any online mental health communities since you're on your recovery path now. If not, would you like to join the one I help run, the one I told you about? Ah. Both my doctor and therapist have mentioned online communities, but I haven't looked into any yet. I'm not sure how I feel about the idea. I don't think I'd really enjoy sharing my insecurities with strangers, even if Brianna's a part of it. Although, I guess if she approves of it, then it must be okay. Plus, there'll be someone I already know there. As I'm pondering, I get another text. It might feel strange at first, but these places are really helpful. I could give you some motivation and support. It could give you some motivation and support, especially if you chat to people who have similar issues. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I'm not the only person in the world with PTSD and BPB, baby CDEFG, LGBTQRSTUV. A regular reminder that I'm not a special case or a monster might actually be reassuring. I guess I have nothing to lose. I thank Brianna and accept the offer. She shoots me an invite link to the community immediately, and I open my laptop and create an account. I hadn't expected much to happen when I joined, so I'm surprised by the small flurry of people who welcome me. They're not just generic hello messages either. These people are instantly open about themselves and ask friendly questions about me. Hey Skull, nice to meet you. Is this your first time in a community like this? Welcome, Skull. Hope you like this place. It really helps me with my bipolar disorder. Remember, there's nothing to be ashamed of here. I have anxiety disorder and OCD. What about you? Only if you want to share, though. They're all pretty nice and considerate. Only if you want to share. Good to know that I won't be pressured into anything while I'm here. I spend 10 minutes or so replying to people. It feels odd, but the accepting vibe of the place helps to soothe my worries a bit. I don't tell anyone about my diagnosis yet. I think I'll save that for later, when I know people a bit better. After a while, a message from Brianna appears. It's obvious that she's not just an average member, especially due to the little icon next to her name that shows her moderator status. Welcome, everyone. Skull is someone I know personally, so thank you for the warm welcome. I know you'll all be helpful and friendly, as always. Instantly, a huge influx of messages bombards my screen. Brianna, we missed you. Hey, Brianna, how was work today? Brianna! I sit back and watch it unfold like a comedy show. Brianna is practically attacked by messages, all happy to see her and singing her praises. As she tries to reply professionally to each one, I picture her awkward face and start laughing. She really is popular everywhere she goes, isn't she? When the ruckus calms down, a couple of people go back to asking me casual questions. I reply, telling them that yes, Brianna and I live in the same city, And no, I've never done anything like this before. Another question pops up, and I find myself pausing as I read it. Are you on any medication yet? You don't have to share, but we talk about that a lot, and it's really nice to compare experiences and stuff like that. You can even set up a notification on this community that reminds you to take your meds at the same time every day. I honestly love this place. It really keeps me on track. What a thoughtful feature. And I bet Brianna was involved in making it happen. It's just the level of care she'd take. My instinct is to reply defensively, no, I haven't started meds yet. After thinking for a moment, though, I realized that I'd be stuck in my self-destructive ways if I just left it at that. I'm supposed to be on medication. I just keep dodging around it, out of fear. I glance at the little packet on the couch next to me. It leers back at me unblinkingly, and after a few seconds I realize this is a staring contest I can't win. These pills will be hanging over me every day like a big black cloud if I don't start taking them. Besides, if I refuse the help I asked for, then nothing will change. Yeah, I have to do this. Snapping out of my daydream, I tap out a response at last. I'm actually starting sertraline tonight. I'm about to go to bed. I'll take my first pill now. It doesn't take long for replies to flood in. Oh, I've tried sertraline. Made me super thirsty all the time, but the other side effects weren't so bad. I chuckle. The response is generally positive, and they all congratulate me on starting the pills, as though it's an incredible milestone for me. I suppose it is, in a way. I should probably try to think like that, too. Thanking everyone, I log off and snatch up the pills before I can change my mind. The sooner I start, the sooner the rough patch can be over. I just hope it's not too rough. After I'm finished getting ready for bed, I pull out one of the pill packets from the box, popping one out into my hand. It's so small and harmless, and yet it feels so threatening. Swallowing my nerves, I pick up the glass of water I poured earlier. Every time I need to take a pill for anything, I need water. I fear no man, but people who take their pills raw, they scare me. They are not of this world, I am convinced. People who just take a pill, throw it in the back of their mouth and swallow, I can't do that, and I don't know how people can. It's just, nope. I'm never going to understand that. For a moment, I'm unable to do anything other than stare at the pill with reluctance. My toxic mind brings up all the old stereotypes I'm used to, that taking this medication is basically admitting that I'm abnormal and that I'm a... The tiniest of typos. It took me this long to finally find a single typo in this whole game, Borealis. The end quotation at the end of this. I'll let it slide. In printed media, the average accepted typo is about one typo for every 100,000 words. That's what's acceptable in books. And these days, it's closer to one typo about every 10,000 words, if you can believe it, on average. Proofreaders do not get enough time or money to do a diligent job. So yeah, one typo in the entirety of this visual novel, you get a pass. That scares me so much, Tim. Oh wow. That actually scares me. Hey, it's fine. I have things that I have written and then read and reread 10 times over, and then I come back so much later and there it is. A single typo that I somehow missed in all that time. Somehow you just miss things. It's fine. That's why it's acceptable to have one every once in a while. No matter how many eyes, no matter how many rereads, every once in a while one gets through. No big deal. No, Skull, you are not a lunatic. There's no such thing. Just take the damn pill. Yeah. I did it. I ended up draining the whole glass of water to make sure it really got it down, but it's done. My man. My search for land adventure starts here. The most important thing to remember is that oftentimes when you start on pills, it takes time before they start having an effect. And then you need to keep taking them once the effect comes in. That's the most important thing that a lot of people forget about. Or ignore, rather. I freeze for a minute, half expecting horrifying side effects to take over my body immediately. Of course, nothing happens. Taking a deep breath, I get into bed, trying to convince myself that I've done a wonderful thing. It doesn't feel like it yet, but maybe in time, it will. Okay, let's try to get a good night's sleep. Idiot Skull woke up the next morning with a lot of thirst. Are we going to get nightmares? Because that was one of the side effects. Oh, good. What time is it? Oh, my alarm's about to go off in 2 minutes. I'll switch it off. I paw at my phone, but as I'm heaving myself upright groggily, something feels a bit different than usual. Here's that song again. That's not good. Why am I so dizzy? Oh, the antidepressants. Suddenly on high alert, I scramble out of bed, testing my balance to see how badly the pill has affected me. Well, it's better than nightmares. Whoa, geez, this is a bit much. I wait for a minute for the room to stop spinning. I don't feel sick or anything like that. I just feel like I've been on a carousel or something. Okay, that's a bit better. I'm about to go take a shower when something else hits me. Man, I'm so thirsty. Like ridiculously thirsty. So I haven't drank anything in days. I remember someone mentioning that this happened to them online last night. Guess it's just par for the course. You ever get those... This has happened to me a few times, where no matter how much I've drank, it never feels like it's enough. Like, just straight up, it is permanently a dry mouth. It sucks. It really sucks. Oh well, at least it keeps you hydrated. Stay hydrated. Friendly reminder. I make my way downstairs carefully in case my dizziness gets worse. Turning on the kitchen tap, I fill up my glass from last night and chug it down. It's not enough! Going for a second glass, I become aware of a really weird sensation. I almost feel like the wetness of the water doesn't compute with my mouth. It still feels dry as a bone. This is bizarre, and I didn't genuinely expect to get side effects like that after only one pill. I guess this stuff works fast. Well, I have one more glass of water, and then get ready. I can't stand here drinking all day. I turn the tap back on, but as I'm moving the glass underneath it... Oh, the dizziness is back. I try to ignore it, but it's so bad that I can't actually tell where I'm aiming the glass properly. Am I even getting any water here? I lean forward to try and see better, but then my balance swerves out of control and... Don't worry, the ground broke his fall. I'm on the floor. I'm actually on the floor. Laying there... Have we heard this song before? This is so silly. Laying there like an idiot, listening to the tap run pointlessly. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. In the end, I burst into a fit of dark giggles at my own suffering. This is gonna be great. Floored. I believe you. I believe you, Borealis. That sounds like a very realistic thing that happened. Whoop. It worked overnight. Voila, we are cured. The end. That's it. We don't need to see what happens next. He and Brianna got back together and lived happily ever after. But just because I like you guys, I think I'll come back next Sunday and see what happens next. Because I like you. Well, there you go. Anyway, so that was day 12 of True Colors: A Date with Deception. A lot happened today. Brianna is so pure and so kind. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens next time. Ash took another 2 streams after this point. Malik only took 1. I'm going to assume that this will take 2 for Brianna as well because I'm taking my time with it. So there we go. 2 more streams, 1 next week, 1 the last Sunday of the year. There we go. As a heads up, this upcoming weekend, I am going to be visiting my family in Texas. I'm going to be driving. It is a 9.5-hour drive from Dallas back up to where I live in Nebraska. And I am going to do my absolute best to get back in time to stream. But I might start the stream late. If the stream starts late, sorry, I will be streaming next week. I'm going to do my best to make sure it starts on time, but I can make no promises. The stream is for sure happening. That's not an issue. Anyway, I'll be back on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to be continuing my Janyan playthrough or not. I don't know yet. I'll be back Tuesday playing something else, and I'll be back next Sunday continuing my playthrough of True Colors: A Date with Deception. Thank you, as always, Borealis, for being here. Thank you to Dimlord and Androriah for being here. Shout out to the lurkers, and shout out to everyone watching on YouTube afterwards. On behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.